Welcome to In the Green Room. I'm Kinga.
And I'm Chet.
I'm Patrick.
And
I'm George.
And Patrick, we have George and Patrick, two heroes that are here saving the planet one show at a time.
One show at a time.
One show at a time.
You went fast with it. Usually you
Okay,
give
let's
us a
do it
second.
again. Saving the planet
One show at a time. Yes.
So Patrick, can
Yes.
you introduce yourself and tell us how you are an amazing hero?
Well,
saving
I
people?
wouldn't go that far, but my name's Patrick McNeil, and we've done this podcast about a year ago.
Yeah.
It feels like.
Yes.
Exactly. I'm trying to think of what's taken place over the last year. I spend a lot of my time.
But some people haven't
that's
listened
true.
to that podcast.
That's
so
true.
Yeah,
we kind of
catch them up.
yes.
That is true. A lot of my work history is in the addiction field over the past 26 years. I'm just thinking about this. I've been back in Phoenix, Arizona for 9 years, May of 2016, and I'm born and raised in Phoenix. So I've got a huge love affair with this town, and I was gone for a long time. So when I came back and I saw our homeless population and quickly learned about how the drug relationship to that homeless population ran rampant, I knew I had to get out there and figure out what's going on. So
And how to
it's
help.
sometimes it's two steps forward, one step back, and sometimes it's the opposite. I constantly learn when I get it right and when we get it wrong, and we constantly get it wrong, but we keep trying. We really do. We really
And what
do.
are we getting wrong?
Well, sometimes, let me put it this way: what getting wrong is when I'm doing more work than the person I'm dealing with. Then that's entering into codependency or enabling, and a lot of other terms we use. But I'm getting better at maximizing my time and seeing who actually wants help, who wants to get off the streets, get off
Because
the
you
drugs.
can't help somebody.
So do you
who
work
doesn't
with
want
like a
help.
specific organization
No,
then that helps?
not at all. And I do that on purpose. And I love I've learned to love every organization, starting with the faith-based organizations, because I've watched absolutely incredible things happen from the small mom and pop churches that are basically bringing burritos and water to just buy time with my street addicts. And then I'm constantly trying to figure out where we can bridge the gaps in between. We have great social services, but a lot of times our addicts get lost. Even if it's just a couple days, they'll get lost to the streets. Rather than if we can get them into housing for a couple days, we can give them a chance. Even getting them to in any sort of a healthier environment rather than the streets, because it is the. God, how do you say this? Well, I was talking to my mentor, who was 44 years ago. He's been sober for 44 years, and he was telling me what it cost to be a heroin addict. 44 years ago, we're talking $200 to $400 a day. Today, you can go for about $20 to $50 a day. So the price, it's very economically feasible to be an addict today if you're a fentanyl addict. And the weird psychology of it is that you hear it seems to be that we are and I can't say for sure, but it seems that we are probably the cheapest place to get high right now. Phoenix, Arizona.
I've heard that Phoenix is the biggest drug hub in the entire country, and it's the cheapest prices.
Yeah.
And that's why there's the
100%.
highest usage among the homeless population here in basically Southern California, because all the drugs are coming through that border.
Huge. And then of course the weather piece too. You get them. We're going to have probably more transient alcoholics and addicts coming through what would be October through April. Probably right now we'll see people moving along. But I try to talk to everybody, street guys on the way here. Talk to everybody. Rarely do I meet a local guy or girl. It's usually somebody from the Midwest, it seems like.
And so how do you, so you start talking to them,
Well,
how do you get them and to get them help?
Yeah, give me an example. We have a guy right now that's, and I just talked to him. I'll leave his name out of it, but we've got him. I work with a lot of sober houses. I use them as transitional housing. And I ran into him. I was actually done working on the street. Pulled him to get gas over at the Circle K on 7th Street in Missouri. And there's one guy just standing there. I'm like, oh, here we go. Talk about those prayers, that faith thing. I kind of giggle. When you're in this field, your work should never be done. So, I'm like, oh goodness, this is the time I need to go speak to somebody, because I don't feel like talking to him. I feel like going home and eating dinner is what I feel like doing.
And that's what I was going to say. You
Yeah.
really are a hero, because it's just exhausting to try to help somebody who's in that position, because it's like, where do you start?
And it seems
How do you
kinda
know
negative.
that they even want to stop using, which is an important step in somebody stopping an addiction. They have to.
So George
Right.
does this too. George, can you introduce yourself and what you do?
Yeah, so my name is George. I'm a behavior therapist for children with autism, for sure. And it's something that you just can't shut off. You know, different lines of work, for sure. But anytime I see a child just struggling with something, you always want to help. So in terms of that, I can see eye to eye with you, and we could be at a gas station and I see a child, you know, going out with his parents or something like that, or whatever the situation is. I always love going just to say hi, because that also helps. That's part of their programming sometimes.
How did you get involved in this, George?
Yeah, so I've been audio engineering for a while now. Like that was
Yeah, he's our engineer today. Hey, our first time. We're so excited. Hey, George, welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much.
We hope we get to hang with you again soon.
I honestly, I've appreciated the hospitality from you guys, for sure, absolutely. But yeah, I thought that was my dream, engineering, music, and everything. And it's accomplished me to a certain point, right? After doing it for a bit, or for as long as I've been doing it, really. After a while, like it didn't feel as accomplishing, you know. So I wanted to find a calling, and a lot of my friends are actually RBTs, right?
I don't know what RBT is.
Registered behavior therapists.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they would tell me about how they couldn't miss work because of the kiddos. And sometimes, you know, I was like, hey, I was kind of naive, and I'm like, hey, let's take the day off, let's go. But they're like, no, they have programs. If I miss a day, it messes with their timing and their learning and everything, because now they need another therapist to cover, and therefore they might not pair with each other as well, right? So I built a rapport with this kiddo. He now knows like what time it is with me. It's fun, but we're also going to learn, right? Whereas with a new person, they might take it easy, they might not learn, just because the kid might have like a behavior problem, right? Which completely isn't their fault. They're just not used to a new face coming in, right? So they told me about that, and then just something kind of hit me, right? Like they can't miss work, whereas a lot of people can't wait to call in sick or something.
It's so amazing that you're
Because
saying
it's truly
this.
fulfilling. You're helping somebody. It's not just a paycheck. You're also benefiting the world. And we talk a lot about jobs where you can do that, or so much. Like, it's way better to do something where you're feeling fulfilled about doing something better for the planet or for somebody than just something with a bigger paycheck. So that's awesome.
Right, yeah. And
George, it's amazing to hear this, because I am friends with this beautiful gal named Tiffany. She's one of the guards where I live, and she has like 3 jobs, but one of them is she does what you do, and she helps autistic children. And we've been planning to go out and talking about going out, and we'll like get really excited about a date, and then she'll be like, I can't get it off. The kids are just gonna miss me, and you know, she's just so like what you're saying. She has to be there with those kids, and it's just very. She said it's, you know, she's just very. She just feels like they're gonna be affected in such a negative way if she's not there.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And it feels so good to run a program with a child, right? Depending on what their needs are, right? They need to learn how to match certain things or discriminate. And in this in this world, discrimination isn't a bad term. It's really just like knowing, hey, you know what? That's my mother. Looking at another woman, yeah, she's a woman, but that's not my mother. So you're discriminating in a positive way, like, hey, that's my mother. I'll call her mom. I'll see a picture of my mother. I'll see her. But if I see a picture of a female that looks like her, I can discriminate from those two, right? So it's a lot of that. And then going over at the end of the session, and you walk them over to our car, right, with their parents, and then they'll say like mom, or you'll get to see it, and then you see the joy in the parents' faces too. So it goes beyond just the child there, right?
How old are the kids you're helping?
Yeah, so one of the kiddos that I have is 3.
Oh,
right?
they're young.
Yeah, they're tiny. We could get them in the clinic as young as a year and a half. But I will say that's pretty rare. Most of the time we'll see them come in at 2 years old. And I thought it'd take a while for me to get used to like the job and the work. But these kids make it so easy, they make it so easy.
It sounds so amazing.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
what you're doing. You are a true hero.
Yeah,
Two
thank you
heroes
so
today.
much. Thank you
And what's
so much.
amazing too is and I don't know the stats, but my ex-wife worked in the field of autism, and I didn't realize how broad the spectrum was. From Asperger's at the high end to the nonverbal. But I remember her saying constantly, the quicker you can get somebody, she didn't use the word diagnosed, but treatable. You know what I mean? If you see signs, like anything, early intervention it works the same thing with addicts and alcoholics. Early intervention. You know what I mean? So it's and it seems like that it's grown, or I don't know if we've diagnosed more, but this autism has become in other words, it's in everybody. It's in everybody's kind of field of seeing things.
Right. And I feel like, not to say it wasn't as accepted before, but now it's kind of like just, I don't want to say easier to diagnose, but more and more people are catching on and learning. It could be a product of being more aware on the internet, right? Being more conscious of how people feel and everything like that.
What are some of the signs of being autistic?
Some
Some people might not know they're listening.
Yeah, so some of the stuff I'll say are very broad. So people without autism might have these signs too. So right, but not being able to look at people in the eyes, right? Not saying hi to people when they walk in, not just kind of being more so antisocial in a way where they just won't respond at all, won't look at you. Sometimes for the children, you'll like wave your hand in front of them and they just will disregard your hand even being there. Yeah, so
I'm learning right now. I did not know that's one of the signs.
Yeah,
I did not know that. Okay, keep going.
So it's a lot of that for sure.
Okay.
Nonverbal stuff for sure. I'll share a story. My youngest brother, when he was in kinder, they do these tests where you read a prompt, right, and then they stop you in the middle of it and say, hey, can you explain what you just read? Tell me about it, right? And he just wouldn't speak to him, right? He just wouldn't speak to him. So then they called us over and they thought maybe he needs to go to ESL classes or different types of classes.
I don't know what ESL is.
ESL is it's like language type classes.
Okay.
So, right? And we were on the border. I'm from a small city named Nogales, right on the border, super tiny, maybe like 20,000 people. But so they thought, hey, maybe he needs English classes. So then I go in and I run the test with him, right? And he tells me everything. Super smart kid. In his case, he just didn't want to speak to them. He didn't know them, right? But it was the same kind of thing of parenting. So it goes, what this RBT job is teaching me goes beyond them too. It goes to like everyday life and everything like that. So
was it not diagnosed yet that he was autistic?
That's the thing. Like I said, it's just, we got to be careful with it because we did have him, go see someone and see what's going on. And he's not autistic. He just didn't want to. He was just like like he didn't want to speak to them. But when it comes to being nonverbal, it's more so like noises that they'll make, and they can't round the sound of words. So we do a thing called shaping. So for example, if we want them to say box and they can't speak, we'll say, hey, say box. Can you say box with me? And they'll say like, but, and we'll count it. We'll be like, right, but, like that's correct. And then later we'll reinforce it. So reinforce it means give them like their favorite toy or candy, right? And they feel good. And we, it's more than just like, hey, good job, buddy. We'll hug them. We'll do anything like that, right? And they feel good. So next time they try to say box, they'll say but, and we're like, okay, cool. And we're like, here you go. Like, that's it. It's a good sign. So it really does take a professional that's above my level, my pay grade, to say some kid is diagnosed for sure. But those I would say are like the more normal signs that, easier signs to kind of do. And then we have people called BCBAs, who they are the ones who will diagnose. They'll have a meeting with the parent and the child to see where they're at, run a few easier tests to see like what the kiddo can do. And then they'll be able to even complete a whole program. Be like, okay, well he needs help shaping. Hey, you know what? I can tell he won't even be able to say box. So here's this iPad, and we're going to teach him how to communicate through that. We also have a thing called PECs, which is a binder, and it has pictures of things. So if they need to use the restroom and they're nonverbal, they'll open the binder, grab it, and hand it to you. They'll rip like the little picture out of it and be like, here. And these kids are super smart.
I was gonna say, isn't that one of the other characteristics? Is high intelligence?
Yes.
Like Rain Man. Isn't the movie Rain Man?
No, yeah.
Did you ever see Rain Man?
Well, I was about to say, I was about to comment on this fact that there's like crazy high intellect in like a large percentage of them. And when you were talking about the nonverbal aspect, it made me wonder about Albert Einstein, because it was a famed thing that he didn't talk until he was 4 or 5 years old, and like they thought there was something like wrong with him.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he would not talk until he was like 4 or 5, but then he was like a super genius by the age of like 7. He was already doing like crazy math, like as like a first or second grader. So there's like a chance that he was on the spectrum and nobody just knew what it was yet.
Interesting. I did not know that.
And his math is still being proven true today. Like he was doing equations that took 100 years for the technology to catch up to the math. That's crazy.
For sure.
Somebody turned me on to something. There's a lady that was doing a test on telepathy with children, and I just saw. I didn't get to look into it, but just especially with the nonverbal kids with their parents. I don't know. It was interesting though. It was a study done. And I don't know enough about it, but it goes back to what you're saying. There's all kinds of different. We're going to learn all kinds of things about these children as they grow up.
Right. Yeah. No, that's completely true. Right. And then some people could really get like a lot, like super advanced within a couple months, really, right? And the whole point is to have them graduate and then get them ready to go to school, right? Elementary school. We have a little ceremony whenever we think they're ready. They graduate, they have a little cap and gown, and we have them walk down the hallway, and everyone's clapping for them, and it's super like happy, super exciting, but it's a part of you gets super attached to these children, right? So I'll walk them down the hallway, and then there's like tears in my eyes because now I know I won't see him, or her, because now they're going to school, and it's
a bittersweet thing though, because you're happy they're going on to that next step.
How long do you usually have? A year, 2 years, 3 years? How long are they there?
So again, it really depends on the child and how quickly they can get in there, right? How quickly they're diagnosed. Luckily some parents are really on top of it, and they're like, hey, you know what, let me see what's going on. Others just kind of are more laid back, and they're like, hey, hopefully the kid will get it, and they just don't understand, and again, it's just maybe they're not as informed with certain things. So the quicker they can get them in there, it's really nice. And I don't want people to think about the clinics like trial runs or anything like that. It's more like school for the children.
Love that.
We also do potty training there. Sometimes that could be difficult for sure, training them how to do every step of the way, but little by little, like I said, it's just awesome because they could start off and they don't know to start, sit down on the toilet, right? But then later on, while you're with the kiddo, you start seeing them do it by themselves, and that, like I said, it's just awesome to see. And again, it's one of the most fulfilling jobs. It's super hard. It's just because all your attention is on this kiddo. Of we have 2 kiddos usually per day if you're full time. So in the morning you'll have them for about 4 hours, then you have lunch, and then you come back and have another kiddo for 4 hours, right?
And this is 5 days a week?
This is 5 days a week, yeah. Monday
wow, so of course you get really attached.
Yeah, so you get attached to the kiddo for sure. And like I said, some of them are nonverbal, but they have this iPad that they speak to you about or through. And then I remember my first kiddo, of course can't say any names, but he saw me and they told me like, hey, you know what, you have this kiddo, but it takes a lot to pair with him. So I went over there and he just gave me a big smile. First thing, and I walked towards him, he gets his iPad and all I hear is up, right? He's tapping on the thing. So then, I need to pair with the kiddo, and he's smiling up. He's asking for it, which is a big deal, right? Because that's something we want them to learn too, just to ask for help, do anything. So he'll 2 years old and knows, hey, I want up, or you'll hear graham crackers, and you're like, okay, well, if you want a graham cracker, let's play a game. Right, and that's how we introduce learning. We'll say, hey, let's play a game. Can you say box, or hey, point to the car, and then you'll point and you're like, awesome, and then it kind of, so then the game ends, and then you do whatever they want. So if they wanted ups, here we go, we're gonna carry you around, we're gonna
is that what up means? I was like, what does that mean?
Ups would be like they want you to uppies, grab them, graham crackers, another way of reinforcing them for sure. But again, every kiddo is different. They all have like a folder explaining like, hey, these are the behaviors they have, this is how to handle it, this is what he usually enjoys, graham crackers. But we'll also even do tests for that. We'll play a game to see what he likes. Hey, here's a toy car, here's a toy octopus, and here's a toy rocket. We'll let him choose what he wants to play with, and then we're like, okay, well, that's probably what he likes the most. Let's teach him something, right? And then we'll give him that toy afterwards and stuff. So something to look forward to for them and everything. And like I said, it's just awesome to kind of grow with them, but you get super attached. I think that's the hardest part of the job, although it's a lot of detailed work. Because also you're dealing with insurances, right? Kiddos are there through that, so everything's.
But do you also
clinical.
deal with the parents? Like, are the parents like wanting an update every time?
Yeah, so you give them a session note. Usually, you'll tell them, hey, kid was awesome, or you know what, we had a little bit of behaviors, but overall he did great, right? You always want to end it on a positive note. Just with the parents, you don't want anyone to think that the child did bad or had a bad day, right? No, it's never that. We always
smart.
Look at it.
They're perfect.
Right. So we definitely do our best to do that for sure. And then the parents will ask for an update, or hey, do they need more graham crackers and stuff like that, and then we'll repeat it every day. And then of course, as they get more advanced, the program changes, and we're like, hey, you know what, we're no longer reinforcing them saying but we're gonna say box now, or whatever, and then we'll only do it if they say it correctly and stuff. So yeah, awesome job. The field is great. The workers there are awesome that I've met. They've been there forever, and they're like, I want to say they're the heroes, because they taught me how to do it, right? I came in fresh faced, like not knowing anything about the work, had to get my certificate for it and everything to get tested. But they really took me under their wing, and the clinic I'm at is more on the West Valley. So shout out to all of them. They're doing their thing for sure, and showing up every day.
I love it.
It was hard to see someone miss a day. That just didn't really happen, and it's all for the kiddos for sure.
Sounds amazing. It sounds like it takes patience though, for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Do any of them have pets, like dogs or cats or anything?
You know what?
Because I wonder if that's good for them. Probably.
You know what? They might. It's just the ones the cases I take on are usually nonverbal, so they don't really, have they won't really tell me anything like that. But I try to have conversations with them all the time. I'll be walking down the hallway, hey, good job walking, bud. Thank you for staying right next to me. And then I'll be telling them about my day, just because they're always looking up and seeing you. And
do you think they understand?
Oh, sometimes they do, because you'll say something, they smile back or whatever, and because you'll crack a joke or something, and they'll understand emotion, and stuff like that, rather before they understand anything else, right? Because you walk in and say you're super angry, and you walk into the room, the kiddo will recognize that before he can even speak.
Really?
Yeah, the kiddo, a lot of them would recognize, oh, you know what, they're in a bad mood.
How do you know that they know?
Well, if they're nonverbal, they're gonna pick up on your facial expressions so much faster than a regular person.
Right. And of course, I'm not in the field of blindness, but I mean, they navigate through sound. A lot of people that are blind navigate through the sound, and their hearing is so much sharper than someone that might be able to see, right? That's not the case for everyone, but yeah, something interesting that I found out recently is I have a friend that did go blind, right? He went blind 6 years ago, and he's 28 now. And I asked him,
why? How?
You know what
happened?
It was like his eyeballs were it was like a super rare thing where it seems like they were kind of swelling up.
Mm.
It was so crazy, like it just to hear about it was insane. He had surgeries all over the place. If anything, he tried to get surgery in Arizona and in California, and doctors turned him away because they just didn't want to run that procedure. So he had to go to Mexico to find a doctor that was willing to run that procedure for him, and it worked for a bit, and then it just unfortunately got swollen again. But I asked him about dreams, and I'm like, hey, how do you dream? And he said that he still sees in his dreams, but he's, because of programs that he's done, he's met people that are blind, that have been blind their whole life since birth, right? And that they dream in sound. So right, that they dream in sound is what he mentioned. So again, that just made me realize like how much sharper it should be, like the way their senses are, because they don't have to rely on what they're seeing, right? So I assume something like that has to take part in a kiddo, right? Whether maybe not just sound, but they'll look at them and then their senses are just like, hey, you know what, this person's in a bad mood. Or if you come in with a smile, you know, they're more likely to smile back at you, right? All this other stuff. So again, that's not in the programs integrated in their stuff, but it's something you pick up on while you're there for sure. So even if I have a tough day at home, I go in, all that goes away, right? Like you can't take that with you. But then sometimes they turn it around. You know, you're with the kid on that, just like, they make your day a lot better, you know.
I love it.
Well, when you have to say, or when
That's
you
amazing.
have a kid graduate out of the program, it's probably similar to when you have somebody become clean. And then how do you kind of get used to that new situation of like, oh, I'm not going to be spending time with this person or helping them anymore? Because I feel like it's just a weird thing to go from helping somebody like, you know, every day or every week to like, oh yeah, we like don't know each other anymore.
So what's interesting though is we've found that emotionally, when somebody crosses into that line of heavy drinking, drugging, addiction, you may be dealing with a 40 or 50-year-old person. But when you get their history and you find out that this may have started early on, and there may have been trauma, which happens a lot, you might be, even though I'm looking at a 50-year-old man, I'm dealing with possibly a 13 to 15-year-old emotional person. So I've got to go at them. And before, it helps being a father also. I come with more kid gloves on rather than it helps. You're going to get much more response. And then there's also something, being in recovery myself, there's a sense, addicts know other addicts. Whether it doesn't matter if you're using or in recovery, they just know. And I've seen really good. What
do you mean you just know?
Well, so I had a really good therapist at the treatment center I used to work at, and he'd always pull me in with him. He said, Patrick, he's a doctorate level. He goes, I can't get anywhere with these addicts and alcoholics unless I have another addict with me in recovery. I need that so they can trust what we're doing here. He goes, I have all the skills, I've got all the schooling, but I need you there just to be, so they can, otherwise they won't engage with me. They just won't engage with me. And I was just fascinated by that too. But it's like anything, to feel that they need to feel that somebody understands. Somebody's been in the trenches with them. And, you know, especially early in recovery, those years, I mean, I wasn't far removed from it myself. So I had a lot of empathy is what I guess is what I'm trying to say. And of course, I used to watch the skill set of, I was fascinated by therapists and how they navigated the human being. And everybody was learning, you know what I mean? So, and I'm fascinated by kids, just anybody that's just, what we see as a challenge, and to watch them break through on these levels, it's fascinating to me. So yeah, kudos, as you know, more power to you, because we need it all, quite frankly.
So do you still keep in touch with, like, with what you were saying? Do you still keep in touch with some of the people that get clean?
Yeah, and then, it's kind of funny because I'm giggling because there's that Murphy's Law, no good deed goes unpunished. A lot of times, to give you an example, I think I was mentioning, we pulled that kid off the street, and basically I told him, it was that night, I said, listen, you're going to spend another night on the street, but if you need to get you into detox, we'll get you into detox. But if you don't use tonight, you know what I mean? It's going to be a little rough, but I'll do the best. I'm going to get you into a house. Sure enough, I showed up the next morning. The guy was standing there. He goes, "I'm ready to go." I'm like, "Oh, let's go put him in the truck." We get him, and I'd already, I have one gentleman that's kind of my go-to guy over in Scottsdale, and we can accommodate. It's a 10-bed facility. But we can accommodate one indigent bed. We have an indigent bed, is what we call it. And I love to watch the other addicts, alcoholics in early recovery. They surround. They want to help. They want to give back. It's just their nature. And it's amazing to watch somebody so humble in the beginning, but after about 3 weeks clean and sober, it's very common for the addict alcoholic to take their will back. I've got it from here. I don't need God's help. I don't need the Creator's help. I don't need your help. I'll figure this out. And then we usually stand back and give them enough rope to get themselves in a position where they'll get humbled again, if that makes any sense. And it's just, I think it's human behavior, natural human behavior. And in this person particularly now, where I think he's like 50 some days clean and sober, but it's the environment. And then of course he only needed about 3 or 4 days before that treatment center opened up, and he was doing what they call an IOP program, where he goes during the day, but he's in a recovery house at night. And that's what he needed. If we have more of that tribal sense, you know what I mean, that community sense, and more transitional housing that will help, just because we can veer off that. Otherwise, when they get stuck on the streets, we're going to lose them. The drugs are too strong. They're too strong. Fentanyl's, there's a new drug out that's even stronger than fentanyl, and fentanyl was, I don't even know how many times stronger than heroin. It's crazy.
Have you been seeing these videos of some of the cities on the East Coast, like Philadelphia and like Baltimore? There's like some new line of fentanyl called Trank, where like they literally will be like standing, like looking like zombies. Like it's like something out of a horror movie. Yeah, because it like basically will like knock them out on their feet and like have their muscles spasming, but they'll still be standing. It's and there'll be like a full like street of them. That's like where it literally looks like a zombie apocalypse. It's just wild that it's not becoming like a nationwide concern, or like the government's not getting involved, because everybody in every big city is in agreement that the homeless issue is rampant, and the drugs are definitely exacerbating it.
So what are the solutions? I like talking about the solutions for all this. What are the solutions?
Solutions, I wish there was one. We got to go back. So you got countries
one solution we can plug is UMOM. We've interviewed them on the show a few times, and they are, UMOM is a charity based here in Phoenix, and they help homeless women and families get off the streets. They don't really necessarily target the drug demographic, but if somebody gets clean, then they'll help them.
Correct.
But they actually help people get out of that situation permanently. They house them temporarily and
for
get
like
them
90 days.
They house, or I think it's up to like 120 days.
Wow.
And basically get them back into the workforce,
the whole entire family.
And then also get them into affordable housing, and now they're even also building their own affordable housing to help get these people out of off the streets.
I mean, they do their hair, they get them ready for an interview. They give them
literally
skills.
like the #1 charity that you should donate to. Sadly, it's only a thing in Phoenix right now, but if it could grow nationwide, it could literally permanently cure the homeless issue.
This is the first I'm hearing of it.
Yeah, it's just the letter U and then mom. But yeah, if there's a charity you should donate to, this is it. Because as of now, like with their current resources, I think they said they're helping like 500 people get off the streets per year, or maybe like 1,000. But like if they can grow those numbers, it'll actually be a significant dent in our homeless population. So everybody I talk to about this issue, I tell them UMOM, donate to UMOM.
And it's interesting because before UMOM was on the show, I had never heard about UMOM, and now I tell everybody, you tell everybody. Now George and Patrick are going to.
And there are other agencies for helping get people off of the streets that I wish Wendy was here because she knows all of them because she works with UMOM, but she mentioned there is one that's a specific agency for helping people that are drug addicts get off the streets. I wish I remember the name of it right now, but that's also a great one to donate to and pertinent to this conversation, obviously. But UMOM, like, I don't know, I just wish that it had more awareness and more resources. So
thank you for remembering.
And you said they're local.
Yeah.
Yes,
they're right now only, or they might be doing some stuff in Tucson, but it's 90% is just in Phoenix right now.
Yeah.
And when we brought them on the show, I was
We had the
basically
CEO
like,
on.
why aren't you guys like nationwide? And he was like, I wish we were, but we just don't have the resources yet.
Right.
But they're going to expand. They're growing.
Yeah.
They're building more housing.
Yeah.
And what to me the
well,
most
all it would
important,
take is like a coalition of billionaires like hearing about that idea and investing in that to save this country.
I love that idea. Well, I think the key thing that UMOM does is really training them and giving them skills.
What gets people back in
getting
the
them-
workforce and
and
back
getting
in the
them jobs.
economy.
Like,
So
get them
all
jobs. They
the
get them
billionaires
jobs.
will love hearing about that. Like, so we really need to promote that idea and just keep helping people on the streets. It's sad how many people kind of dehumanize them because it's such like it's reached such a low point, and you know, a lot of homeless people right now are like desperate and or on the drugs, and that can be like a scary interaction. I literally, on my drive here, I saw a lady who was for sure, whether it was drugs or mental illness, for sure out of her mind, and like was holding up traffic. So it's something you run into almost every day if you're in a big city. So I don't know, it kind of is going to take all of us helping, because right now everybody thinks, oh, that's not my problem, somebody else is going to help, but nobody's doing anything.
No, we have Patrick.
Yeah.
Our
Well,
hero
no,
Patrick.
there is the resources are huge out there. They really are, and there is a part of the population that is just in what we call that research phase. In other words, it's they're not ready, and for whatever reason, they've chosen that lifestyle at the moment.
And those people, there's nothing you can do at that time.
Other than let them know there's help available, and pray. You know, literally,
Pray.
I've seen people circle around. I've seen people that there's no way and all of a sudden that guy, you'll run into him a year later and something happens, some miracle of life happens. Somebody stepped up on him and helped him out. So it's incredible. I do know this piece. I gave a guy, I was talking to another guy at the gas station, and his bicycle was broken, and he goes, do you have any tools? I go, yeah. So I had a set of tools in the truck, and I watched him, and I just watched him working, and I learned, it's just something I grew up in the trades. I'm much happier when I'm working with people, when I'm fixing a car, whatever I'm doing. So I was like, just keep the box of tools. I saw that guy about 2 weeks later. He was still high as a kite, but he had self-esteem, if that means anything. And he was fixing other people's bicycles, shopping carts. You could just tell he needed to work with his hands. The drug part, that'll be dealt with whenever it gets dealt with. But if we can just give a little pick-me-up, a little self-esteem, use your intuition, you know what I mean, when working with others. So there's a time to give somebody a meal, there's a time to teach somebody how to, make money to get a meal. There's those things. So I like what you said too. It's easier for guys maybe that, I don't have a fear of working on the streets, whatever, but you'll know. And every family that I've ever met, I don't care from what, every family has an addict or alcoholic in their family, either in actively using or in recovery. So we all know it's out there, you know what I mean? The homelessness piece, that's a whole nother ballgame, because it's just, it's nasty.
Something that we forgot to say is, if you don't have the resources to donate any money to UMOM, you can donate your time. Also, they're always
100%.
looking for toys, clothing. Like if you're like getting rid of stuff, you're better off donating to UMOM, because it's not.
Oh, you're right though.
Not
That
for
you can
profit.
donate
Yeah,
time. You can literally just go work in the kitchen there.
Yes.
There's like a few different volunteer jobs to just go make that place run. So that's a great point, that if you don't have the money to donate, but you have time.
And then I can't remember if there's a restaurant there that they have their. They have the people
they
being
have their
trained
own
with restaurants.
restaurants,
With restaurant work and with coffee, and I think there's even a Starbucks there, and you can go there.
But did I hear you
there.
correctly? Specifically,
Wow, that's
they're for families, mothers and children. Is that what it is?
So it's for single women or for families. So
Got
like
it.
a father with his kids could go there
Awesome.
too,
Awesome.
or like a full family unit could go there too. But if it's a single individual, they'll only take women.
Got
so
it.
that's
Yeah.
their caveat.
That's-
But
So they focus.
so
more,
but when they're on when we were interviewing them, they said that that's when they mentioned there are specific like male only shelters.
Right.
If there's anybody listening that needs to get help for a male single individual.
Yeah.
So there are more organizations out there helping with the homeless issue right now.
Yeah.
But they are just the first one that pops into mind, You Mom, because they're so efficient, and it's literally like the next step towards becoming a utopia, something that's a permanent program for getting people off of the streets and back into the workforce and giving them that confidence, like you were talking about. It's so important because a lot of people, like, if they're on the streets, they don't even feel like the confidence to try to go get a job interview. You Mom is like a break from that. It gives them a place to live, a place to shower, go look nice, so they have the confidence to get that job. And then after they go through that step, then they help them find the affordable housing, if it's one of their units that they built or another one that they can just help them find. So,
and the CEO that was here, I can't remember, said that a lot of the people come back and give their success stories, and then they start donating there. So it's really a cool thing. So George, I think you had a question. I thought you.
Yeah, I had a question for Patrick.
Yeah. Okay.
So we were mentioning men and women in terms of the what they do for sure in terms of work. How about I had a question about seeking help. Do you mostly see men
Great
seeking
question.
help or women? And is there and if so, like, what do you feel like is like the barrier that a lot of people need to get over? Is it more like a pride thing, or are they embarrassed of the situation, or what was the barrier or hurdle that they have to go in order to accept the help and ask for it?
Right. So what we're seeing, and this is what's, I'd say, over the last 6 months that was strange for me. I've seen more of our Native American population, and I sit and ask them. A lot of Navajo, a few Hopi women on the streets, and that's something I hadn't seen over the last 8 years. It's because it was just strange. So I'm seeing a combination. Me personally, I'm dealing mostly with guys. You know what I mean? If I get a girl that's asking for help, there's kind of a sisterhood in the recovery world. Let's get her over there. The one cool thing is you can always, push them into a meeting of, there's so many 12-step meetings out there that it costs nothing. Just walk in, go get your coffee, a donut, what have you. Just get in there and let the miracle happen in there, because there's always people looking to help. Same thing with our faith-based organizations. So it's out there. It's just prompting those people to there. But what we found out is like, once again, if I can get that person to show me, do something here, so we can put the energy into you to get you into a facility. I've got a bunch of guys that'll pull favors, and the sober housing has kind of been my little niche, and then just as a holding pin, so then we can get them into a state-run facility, a treatment center.
Where are some of the sober houses?
So sober houses are all over this town. The assisted living facilities and sober houses, now they're registered. All of them are, but they're all over. They're probably in your neighborhood and you don't even know it. I'm going to speak to one up on 32nd at a group of guys. I think there's 10 guys at this house at 6 p.m. tonight, and it's on 32nd Street in Shea. So that's a very nice area.
What do you think about somebody who has kind of they've been to rock bottom, they've been to rehab after that, and they still just don't show signs of changing, and it kind of just seems like it's their personality, and I've kind of stopped hanging out with this person because they're just still partying, even though they've been to rock bottom basically twice now, and he literally flipped his car, broke his neck, and then had to relearn how to walk, and that didn't scare him. So that shows how powerful.
Who is it?
So what we've seen is there's no substitute for time. The longer you can, so for instance, you asked me a question. Salvation Army, they have a long-term program over, I think it's a year plus. So there are times where somebody needs more time, where somebody else can maybe, within 90 days a new habit can be built, what have you. Somebody else may take years, but they need to be in that environment a little longer, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. I would never.
Well, I've just kind of been toying with myself mentally, like, should I just accept him as he is, and that's just kind of who he is, and I'll be around him less because I know he's a bad influence,
because it doesn't
but just
make sense.
accept that that's who he is, and like, not really punish him for it by like not hanging out with him anymore, and just accept that he's not going to change.
Well,
because it's clear that he's not going to. If
I
that
don't want
car
you around that
accident,
influence. I don't want you around that.
well, I'm not going to get in the car with him.
right, no, of course not. And
Yeah.
and it's you're going one direction and he's going another direction. You know what I mean? Water seeks its own level. So you have nothing in common after a while. I mean, I work with addicts and alcoholics.
yes.
It's true, but I'm not going to go hang out with them. Yet I go to bars all the time because I play music. You know what I'm saying? So I have a reason to be there, even though I don't drink and drug. But then I bail as soon as I'm done.
Well, yeah,
playing music.
I work in
hang
the
out
club,
I didn't
so
know you were playing
that's kind of
music
why I
now.
stopped hanging out with him, because I didn't want to. I felt like when I was inviting him, I was just enabling him. Because I'm
Correct.
basically inviting him to a place where everybody's drinking.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So that's kind of why I just stopped
Yeah.
hanging out with him as much, like thinking he would maybe get clean. He went to rehab, partying again now. So I'm like,
right.
I feel like I'm just basically like cutting off a friend for no reason, essentially, because he's gonna stay the same. And he's never done anything to hurt me or like, you know, cross me in any way. So I just kind of wanted what's best for him. But it seems like he's not going towards sobriety.
Right. But everybody
All
runs their own
evidence
course.
points towards he's staying as a party animal.
Right. But as long as he's not trying to pull you down with him,
Oh yeah, he's not.
just
no.
always be available to him if he's your buddy.
Yeah.
When he's ready to get some help, and you just never know when that's going to come. You know, you pray. That's what happens, quite
Yeah.
frankly. You know.
Yeah. And I like didn't even know about the whole car accident, or that he had to relearn how to walk. Like you would have no idea. Like when you're hanging out with him, he's like the guy that flips off the roof and like is like wild, like
I know who
party-
it is now.
Right.
Yeah.
No, you don't. But
Well, the universe is kind of speaking to him, but he might not be getting the lesson.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
And so but yeah, I found out that he would come over to my house to hang out during the pandemic. And I had no idea. Every time he was driving to my place to hang out, it was on he didn't even have his license still from that last accident.
Right.
So he was just like risking getting in trouble and coming to hang out. So it just shows that, I don't know, he's just a wild friend, but he means well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a complicated situation.
No, right, and all of that makes sense for sure. So you mentioned that you might be distancing yourself from him.
Yeah.
All over, maybe like something won't change, right? But your time and energy into a person is reinforcing to them for sure. So at some point, we all need a sense of community, right? Whether it's in your faith, right? Same with people seeking help. They want someone in the room that has been through it, and that's it's a community that they're kind of building, and they have that trust in them.
Well, and this is what was making it so tough, is my
He should meet
community
Patrick.
is a bad influence on him, because I'm like in the DJ nightlife industry.
Right.
So literally everywhere I go is like literally the worst place to trigger his bad behavior. So that's what basically led to our distance. I just stopped inviting him to where I was going, because where I'm going is an enabling location.
Right.
Because a lot of the time when I'll go to these shows, I'll have 0 or maybe 1 drink, because I know I'm just here to network. I'm like gonna work out in the morning. But a lot of other people don't have that discipline.
Correct.
When they get in there with the music, they're going to the bar.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Absolutely.
And the world works in a sense of like, if this, then that. So for example, in your line of work, I would say you might show or speak to someone and say, if you are clean, then I'll be able to get you in this program or in this housing. Whereas in your case, it could be, if he doesn't see you come around or doesn't hang out with you, then maybe he'll think about, hey, why is that?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what, he might think I'm a bad influence. So therefore, it's an if-then situation. Same thing with the kiddos, right? Hey, if we play this game, then you'll get a reinforcement, right? It's kind of that. So your reinforcement is the program or housing. Your reinforcement to them is your time, right? Your friendship, right? And
that's a great recommendation. That's
It
smart.
really is. You
Yeah.
could say, "Hey, I'll hang out with you," but
Let's
don't
do
drink
something
it.
like a hike where there's
Yes.
no drinks at all.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a
and
great
we'll-
idea.
And we'll do that in my line of work too. We call it like a negative punishment, right?
Or let's go to church.
So yeah, you remove something from the occasion, and then in order to remove behavior that you don't want on there. So in this case, negative punishment would be, again, your friendship. You remove it in order to remove the behavior that he's having, right? And like I said, it's crazy how a lot of things apply to like the world itself, for sure. So if you believe that friendship is strong, and you'd like you'd like your friend back, before that, I would say that's a conversation that might happen with you being not there, right? He might notice it and say, hey, you know what's happening? And then he might actually prompt the conversation and say like, hey, why aren't you hanging out with me? And then you could tell him, hey, you know what, I feel uncomfortable, situations like that where that doesn't align with what I think or whatever. And that might actually help that situation for him and get his life turned around, so but then
Or you
again,
could even
I just
go to
don't know
a-
how to
oh.
say that without coming off in a hypocritical way, because he's gonna be like, you drink when you're on stage, like you party, like what? But I'm gonna be like, yeah, I never flipped my car and almost killed myself, bro.
Right.
So it's like, just because I'm able to do it in a healthy way doesn't mean that he is.
Right.
But it's still like it's a tough thing to convey. But I think that's a conversation that I definitely will have.
Well,
So.
what about
Yeah.
Great
showing up
advice,
at a
thank you.
meeting? Like maybe you could encourage him to go to a AA meeting.
Well, no, he's been to rehab,
Mhm.
but
Okay.
like our whole friend
been-
group, whole friend group said that like he was like literally like at the bar the night that he got out.
Yeah, when he
Like,
graduated.
Yeah,
Oh.
like
It's
and
pretty cool.
it's because his
How old is he?
personality.
Is he-
He's like 32.
Okay, yeah.
But he literally looks and acts and like he literally is like Shaggy came to real life, like from
Yep.
Scooby Doo. Like
Yep.
he like literally was like designed to party.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's like hard to. It's just a difficult situation.
Yeah.
But I think you guys gave me great advice, and that if he reaches out to me, I'll kind of just explain myself and be like, "Yeah, I care about you as a friend." Like,
The
I
truth
don't
always prevails. I mean, that's where,
Yeah.
especially in friendship. Just
Yeah.
this is how I feel.
Yeah.
Doing it to protect.
I just
you.
want to also be like, I thought I was being a bad influence by inviting him.
Mhm.
So, I'll be
Mhm.
honest.
So I have a
Absolutely.
question. Those homes where people give up
Yeah.
their home to have people live there.
So those are sober homes. Yes,
Okay.
they're designed. They're usually they're regular house,
Okay.
and then
Does
they're-
somebody just like donate their house?
No,
or how does
no,
it
no,
work?
no, no.
Do they get paid to do it?
It's post treatment,
Mhm.
and it's usually we call it transitional housing,
Mhm.
and it's so they can get back into the workforce, what have you. It's a community of recovering addicts and alcoholics, and kind of little fraternity. If it's a men's house, we have men's, women's, we have co-ed houses too. And most people, they can stay a few months. Some just stay for a few years, depending on how they're, how.
And they
they're
pay
recovering.
rent, or
yes,
how do they?
pay rent? Yes, they pay rent, or some usually family will step in the beginning and pay and help them out. Like what I said, we've had like the house I was working with. They're like, okay, we'll throw, we'll try it for a week, see if it works with this guy pro bono. And then we'll see how he behaves. Is he, is he an addition to the house? But if he's still using it, obviously that doesn't work. Very strict rules at the house. There is no drinking
Oh,
or
sure.
drinking. So it's sometimes it can backfire on you, but it's worth the chance. It is worth the chance. You know what I mean? So and you never know. A lot of times those guys will come back around months, weeks, years, whatever it may be. You know what I mean? You never know what seed could be planted at that time.
Yeah, and then with everything you do, I'm sure it's a lot of tough conversations that you must have with people, right? But I feel like if you don't have the tough conversations, you don't care enough.
No,
right?
especially in this field when you watch people, it is a life and death situation. The overdoses, I mean, they speak for themselves, the statistics speak for themselves. So, yeah, I can come off a little harsh at times. I'm viewed as being harsh, but I've been doing this a long time. I'm telling them what they need to hear sometimes, not what they want to hear. So,
But also, you don't want you want to make a difference with this individual.
yeah, we're doing the best to assist in them in wanting to save their own life, if that makes sense. That's really what it comes down to. So, and it's also part of my process, my program of giving, like anything, your calling, giving back. And I think
You're a
that's
hero.
important for
You're a hero.
everybody. But everybody needs. I think that's probably part of. I was looking at my father, who's a forensic CPA. He's 87 years old. He is such a wealth of information, and he helps us as family. But you watch him when he's teaching a youngster how to coming up, there's going to be a CPA and stuff like this. He comes alive. That is, we're talking. Everybody needs to give and take, so to speak. Use your skill set and educate somebody else. Yeah.
I love it. Both of you are doing amazing work. Keep up the good work. How many minutes are we at?
We are at 53 now.
Oh, we need to stop.
Oh, that's perfect length.
Yeah.
You have a good internal clock.
I
She
know.
does.
I thought. Well, I really.
That's like basically the exact amount of time we wanted to do.
How do people find you, Patrick, if they need help or if they have a friend or a family member that need help? I mean, can
Well,
I find you on Facebook?
No. I mean, it's funny because I'm coming from the recovery world. It's all word of mouth.
Okay.
Is how I work. Yes,
All
so
right,
to speak. So, but I would suggest
Do you have an email or something you want to leave for somebody that's listening?
You know what? If somebody want to know, they can contact you. You can give my number.
Yeah, message
that's
the
good.
show.
Okay, that's good.
Word of mouth.
If you
is
know
how it
somebody
is.
that needs some help,
Absolutely.
message us.
There
Well,
you go.
we'll have to do another show about
Even
this. We've
better.
ran out of time. Thank you, George, and thank you, Patrick.
Oh, that was fun.
Saving lives every day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.